Hello and welcome to Boomer Live. We are here to talk about the match which got over earlier today, which was between New Zealand and Sri Lanka. It was an interesting match and it proves yet again why New Zealand is a cohesive unit in the ICC tournaments. Over and over again we try to write them off and they keep proving all of us wrong because they are a strong unit. If you have to talk about team performances in a World Cup, just look at New Zealand. They never tend to disappoint you. They come as a unit and defeat you as a unit. That's what New Zealand is all about. And today, they got off to a very shaky start. They're 15 for 3, but then Sri Lankan fielders, they had butterfingers, as you call it. The ball was just slipping over their hands. They gave so many lives to Glenn Phillips that he'd believe that if he takes a lottery ticket today, he'll be a millionaire or he'll be a billionaire. So that was the luck with Glenn Phillips. But then he played a magnificent innings to score the 100, one of the best hundreds of this World Cup under pressure. You know, he made the most out of the chances you give him, and that's what made Sri Lanka pay. Sri Lanka were reduced 8 for 4 at one stage, but ultimately they could only score 102 runs, which means Glenn Phillips win the match by 2 runs. So now I have Jaren with me. Jaren, how are you doing? And how was that game of cricket? Because it was a game of cricket which Sri Lanka had it in their hand and they just let it go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. By the 15th over, not West Indies, sorry, rather, New Zealand had only scored 113 by the loss of 4 wickets, and they had 16 overs to go. But I think where they really got going, Sri Lanka was the early overs where they got 3 wickets initially, and New Zealand's success against the Australian team was when their top order performed. But this time around, they were crippled early on, and you don't really come back most often than not when you lose 3 wickets or so in the power play itself. But
Mm.
what New Zealand did really well, and where Sri Lanka kind of got allowed them as well, was the fact that New Zealand realized that there came a point where they cannot go hard right away. They need to take their own time. They need to settle in, and that's what Glenn Phillips did. Daryl Mitchell as well. I would say gave it. I mean, no, try to stop the flow of the wickets. They kind of had a partnership, and that's where I would say the match kind of went out of Sri Lanka's hand. And you're right in pointing out that just awful fielding, to be very honest. They couldn't keep hold of anything. I mean, they dropped the catches. They dropped catch of Glenn Phillips when he was on 12, and that really cost them. And if not to make things worse, they kept the ground fielding was awful, to be very honest. And I think Sri Lankan fans would be really disappointed the way their team fielded today. That's where I felt they let go, because once the score, the target went above 150, it was always going to be difficult, because on those conditions, especially under the lights, the pitch had started to became even more erratic. The ball was turning a lot as well, which meant that the pitch was not going to be easy. And 163 was a difficult target, to be very honest. And once you gave them that breathing space, New Zealand really took hold of the match.
I mean, rightly pointed out by you in terms of saying that how Sri Lanka let go of the grip of the game which they had it in their hands. But then there again, it comes to the point where New Zealand performs as a team because you give them a sniff, especially on the field. I don't think there's any better fielding unit than New Zealand in the entire of the World Cup because they are a complete force on the field. They save at least plus 10 or plus 20 every game, which makes you really look for runs. It's never easy to score runs against them, especially to pick up those close twos or to pick up those, nudge around and pick up singles. So that's why New Zealand is a very good unit on the field, regardless of their performance with the bat or ball. So that's a big tick mark. But then, as with ball, no, you have to give credit to their ballers yet again. I know 160 on any other T20 wicket across the world, you'll believe it's a below par total. But here again, Tim Southey, he made the most out of the conditions. The ball was snipping around quite a bit and swinging. He made the most. He picked up earlier wickets and Trent Bolt. What a bowling spell did he have? He picked up 4 wickets, just gave away 13 runs in 4 overs. Just speaks them both as a duo is the most underrated duo in the history of world cricket because they keep on decimating teams in every IC tournament with this duo. I don't know how long will they be playing together, but then as long as they're playing together, they never seem to disappoint. I've never seen them have an off day together.
Absolutely, and today, especially, I think King Saudi is someone I'm really, glad to see the way he performed, because coming to this tournament, you would say that Trent Bolt is probably the better of the two of them, or has been the better of the two of them in white ball cricket. But even against Australia, he only bowled 2 overs. But what he did really well was he had those changes of pace in that match, and he adjusted to the fact that the ball wasn't moving around to what he likes. Today, I think the conditions were just made for him. It was tailor made for him, and he showed why he's one of the best swing bowlers going around. Sri Lanka had no answers, especially their top order. And you felt that if the Sri Lankan batters had survived that power play, they would have had a chance, a sniff at the target. But the moment they lost 4 wickets, and that also, for 8 runs in just in around 4 overs, so that is pretty much, by the time the power play began, the number 7 was already batting, and that itself
Yeah.
shows, T20 cricket, if you lose more than 3 wickets or so in a power play, you don't have a lot of chances to come back, especially when you're chasing. And on that kind of a pitch, which kept delivering towards the ballers.
True. I mean, we already have a comment saying New Zealand looking very dangerous. Yes, you don't want to face New Zealand at any stage because, at one stage or the other, they are going to be haunting you with their performance. They perform as a team, as I already mentioned. And it's tough to get away from teams like that because they're tactically a very strong team. They play on tactics analytically. You know that they have perfect game plan for every batter they come up against. They know where to ball. They really falter with their tactics. Tactically they are very astute as a team. That's really helped them in ICC tournaments. You might see them not really dominate in bilaterals, and bilaterals they may go on to get whitewashed in these conditions, but when it comes to these big occasions, they really know how to outclass you with tactics, outclass you with their mentality as well. Mentality is a key aspect in all these big tournaments. And I think Kane Williamson has really helped them as a team. I think it's all started from Brendan McCullum when he took over in 2015, where that mentality was laid down for them to be more and more consistent. It's never that New Zealand have never been consistent. They've always been consistent ICC trophies, but even more so from 2015 onwards, where they've been able to make finals consistently. And I believe they're on course to make it to another final, if at all. If I'm saying if the Zimbabwe was a New Zealand semi-final, because which is a possibility if New Zealand is on top of Group One, and the Group Two, if Zimbabwe finishes number two, you might see New Zealand again make it to the final. I don't see Zimbabwe really competing against uh, New Zealand in Sydney. I believe that game will be played in Sydney if that's the case how it goes. And it's not gonna be easy because Sydney has already, New Zealand is slowly trying to make Sydney into their own fortress. They already won a couple of games there. They did not get to play that game in Melbourne, which means that they're looking very strong. I believe the game against England is going to be their biggest test. I still will give the New Zealand team an edge over there because England is coming off a loss against Ireland. They did not get that game against Australia, which means the momentum is totally with New Zealand team, and it's the best opportunity to defeat an English team like this. So I'll put my money on the New Zealand team there. Ishfaq says, I hope India doesn't face New Zealand semis. No, you don't want to face the New Zealand team at this point unless it's a final. Because in a group stage and semi-final, they are a different unit. You've seen that time and time again. In finals, it's never easy for them. These memories come to haunt them back of finals and losing consecutively in finals. So that's why you want to make the most out of that team and play them in the finals rather than playing them in a semi-final match or in a group stage knockout where it's a must-win game for you. And it's never gone well for India. Even in a WTC final, it's never gone well. But then if rain stays away in Australia, I believe they can at least play a better game against New Zealand. And where do you think it went wrong for Sri Lanka? Yeah, Jen, where do you think it went wrong for Sri Lanka, especially with the bat? I know with the ball on the field, they were poor. They consider at least plus 25 or plus 30 in terms of the kind of performance they this could easily been a 120 chase or a 130 chase if they'd have caught in their chance or if they would have done a ground feelings, right? Ground fieldings, right? Isn't it?
Absolutely. I think that's pretty much where they went wrong with the ball. But even with the bat, when you're chasing 163 or so, what you need is a good start. And if not a good start, you at least need to keep your wickets in hand. Today, what New Zealand showed is the fact that, in these conditions, even if you lose your 3 wickets or maybe even 4 wickets pretty early, what you can really do is if you keep if you keep scoring at a good rate and you don't lose maybe more than 4 wickets, I think you shouldn't lose by the 10th over in these conditions. After that, you saw what Glenn Phillips did, for instance. The moment they had wickets in hand, New Zealand were able to go at the ballers, take a play really well because the ball gets a lot more easier once that happens. I think that's also got to do with the fact that Kugabura has reinforced the balls that are being produced with a bit more lacquer. So that's the reason why power plays, especially when the pace ballers are bowling, that's the reason why you'll see a lot more movement off the ball, off the air, off the pitch because the seam and the lacquer is added to the balls. So that's why you would see before the bowlers have complained about how Kugabura balls the prominence of the seam would be reduced very early, but that is not happening as often as now. I mean, as early before. Now ball is taking maybe 8 overs or so, and that's what you've seen in this World Cup. The bit if you have a little bit in the air, then the ball starts to move, and we've seen that in all matches. Today also we saw, for example, someone like Tikshana bowling.
I mean, I also think at the same time you should give importance to Teju's point. Teju's risen a very important point. how ones and twos are important over here, how you should be
Yes,
equipped
yes,
enough to play bounce as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you saw New Zealand do, right? And that's something you saw was whatever New Zealand did right, Sri Lanka didn't. The fact that Sri Lanka's ground fielding was very poor because they kept allowing doubles, singles became doubles or doubles become triples by when Sri Lanka was fielding. On the other hand, when New Zealand were fielding, you would see doubles become singles and triples become doubles, and that's something Sri Lanka did. New Zealand did excellently well. Also, again, when we saw the partnership between Daryl Mitchell and Glenn Phillips was struggling initially to get going, and I remember Chamika Karunaratne's slower balls were brilliantly balled. He was dipping on him. He was not able to connect. He was frustrated. But by the time, but because he subsisted, he tried to get the ball to the bat. He didn't play any rash shots. He didn't try to play get out of jail shots. He tried to survive and get in. And once he got in, boy, he was difficult to handle. And that's
Yeah,
one thing that I felt, Sri Lanka struggled. But these conditions are not friendly when it comes to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is not the best team in Asia. I mean, not Asia, rather in Australia. You would expect Sri Lanka to not do well. But then,
yeah,
having said that, I think today is one place where they had the match in their hands till I think the
yeah,
11th over or so. They should have really, but after the 11th over, I think Sri Lanka did not play like they were the heavier side or they were the team
yeah.
dominating. New Zealand started playing like that, so there was a shift in momentum which Sri Lanka couldn't counter, and that's where Sri Lanka really got really left lost the plot of the game.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with you in terms of losing the momentum, and also it does do a lot with the energy on the field. I've often seen when you have a good feeling performance, or when you save a boundary or two, really charge the team up, which Sri Lanka did not. And I also think some of the ballers ball very well. Tikshana, Hasaranga were top notch today in terms of getting wickets for them and also breaking partnerships. But you also have to support them on the field time and time again in T20 cricket. I emphasize on the importance of fielding because it's so important to do ground fielding and your catches. You have to take your catches because catches win matches. It's an age-old saying, but it's even more relevant in T20 game because one batter like what you saw today, you gave him two chances, not just one. You gave him two
Yeah.
chances and he made you pay for that. He made you pay big time. Glenn Phillips is the kind of player you don't want him to get fired in because you know what he brings. You've seen that in the CPL, right? Glenn Phillips has never come out like his own in international knockout tournaments. This was probably his first ever 15 ICC tournament, and that's what he can do. That's what he can punish you. He has been a leading run scorer for New Zealand in this calendar year. And there's a reason for that. He's a hard striker of the ball. He can turn the matches on his head. He's an X factor player for a reason. Jenny, your thoughts on Glenn Phillips' innings, especially him? Do you think now you are going to see a different Glenn Phillips altogether moving ahead in the tournament?
Yeah, I think he is. We all know about Glenn Phillips. Those of you who follow CPL will know how great Glenn Phillips can be, or how versatile he is as a cricketer. Because I mean, some of the shots that he played today was just exciting to see. I mean, he took a fake step here, fake step there. I remember he took a fake step, and the baller tried to ball a slower delivery, and he swatted him over, over square leg. And then the next delivery was a lot more fuller, and he same moment, and he played that slog sweep to I think it was Chamika Karunaratne or
Yeah,
Rajita Fernando. He
it was
played a
coming
slog
from.
sweep straight
Yeah.
to the boundary. Same switch movement, and he played that shot, which is incredible. That shows that he is not only someone who premeditates, but also someone who is able to stay two steps ahead of the baller. And that's where I felt, someone like the sitter that was dropped by, I think Dasun Shanaka had a much more difficult chance, but Pathum
Yeah.
Nissanka should have really taken that catch. There was much more earlier in the innings as well. At that stage, if they had lost Glenn Phillips, and then subsequently, if the after the drop catch, there was the wicket of Jimmy Neesham as well, that would have really paralyzed New Zealand, and they wouldn't have ended up scoring 163. You probably
Hmm.
would have seen Daryl Mitchell, who struggled, to be very honest, on today's pitch. And as often, I mean, I wouldn't really hold it against him because
Hmm.
everyone did. Only it was Glenn Phillips who was the one batter who made it seem like they were playing on another square altogether.
Absolutely. Firstly, welcome Sandibani on the show. Hope you're doing very good. So, Sean Lukaski, lovely to see you join us from New Zealand, and great to see you from there. I know it's early morning there. I think it's 5 in the morning there. Great to see you join at this time. Maybe you have not slept, or maybe you've just woken up. I think you've had a very good night sleep, and maybe you've had a very good day altogether. And as a New Zealander in IC tournaments, you always have good times, and hopefully that fortune changes
Also,
as
I think
stage one.
Lugaski is done asking for Chelsea contract.
Oh no, this is
Sorry?
different.
It's different. It's
It's
different. It's
different.
different.
It
So
is he is
that's some
Lukaku's.
Bakayoko. Don't you think KL's form is worrying sign as we go into semifinals? I think we'll address this. I know we are talking about New Zealand versus Sri Lanka game which got over, but tomorrow you have a mega game which I already mentioned on Twitter as well. We'll be talking about South Africa versus India because that's one of the biggest contests out there for the World Cup. Your thoughts, Sandeepani, because there are a lot of rumors about him being dropped, getting Rishabh Pant back into the team. Rishabh Pant had an extensive practice session of close to 2.5 hours today and kept wickets for almost 1 hour in training session. Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma had a very keen eye on him, especially in the practice session today as well. So, no important notes about KL Rahul working with Paddy Upton a lot more. He says it's a mental block. Good signs, especially so it's very clear that KL Rahul is facing a mental block rather than an out of form situation over here, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so because the shots that KL Rahul was playing in the practice or the warm up matches, it seemed that he was in form, and suddenly come the Pakistan
Let me
game,
just
he
add
misses.
on here. Let me just interrupt you. KL Rahul in inconsequential matches is a different beast.
No, but what will be really worrying him is that he did not get any runs against Netherlands. So like he has
That's a
like in the
consequential
past.
match. If India were knocked out and if they were against the Netherlands, it would have been a different beast. That's what my point is.
Yeah, not just inconsequential match, but also I think against Mino nations he has had a terrific record. If you compare KL Rahul against the Test playing nations against the KL Rahul against the Mino nations, I think it's a different story altogether.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
having said
if I
that,
may just Sandipani, I think he has an average of 19 and a strike rate of 106 against full member nations since 2020.
strike rate
That
of
11,
100
11,
and I
11.
think average of even less than
Average of
90,
11,
1 2
19,
11,
3
it's
11.
19, no? Is it 11?
No, it's 11. It's
11,
11.
11. Yeah. So
Don't give
so
him that
that is
extra edge.
horrible.
Come
I
on.
mean I mean, you can't go on playing for a team like India, opening the innings and getting the responsibility of a vice captaining the side to the T20 World Cup, and with that sort of form, it does not tend to lead by example. So I think definitely he is under extreme pressure, and that is where the mental block comes in. So him working with Paddy Upton, I hope so that it does something good for him, so that because India would be needing him because he is an X factor player, and we all know that what KL Rahul can do. KL Rahul can change the completion of the game within the power
I
play
think,
itself.
to be very honest, how much of a bigger fan of KL Rahul I am, but to be very fair on to KL
No,
Rahul,
but
I think it's time
honestly,
for him
Abel,
to really
Rishabh
understand.
Pant's average in T20 internationals or his performance in T20 internationals is not very satisfying as well. So if
Yeah.
you even
At
sort
least
of
I have
promote,
a confidence that he's a big game player rather than KL Rahul. I put KL Rahul amidst in a
you
semi-final
can
or a
say that
final.
because also I think Rishabh Pant, what is really working for Rishabh Pant is that he has been terrific in Australia, especially in
Yeah.
Australia. He loves
And
these
let's take
conditions.
his
He knows
record
these
in big
conditions really
games.
well.
Sandeep, my thing is that here you're a player who performs in big games, in big occasions, and on the contrast, you have KL Rahul, who's a vice captain. I don't know why he's a vice captain. If a player is having a mental block for himself, who's morally very wrong when he's going into a big game, I don't know how is he going to lead India in future if he's your future captain. I think it's a very wrong call to even to put him as a vice captain.
I think the way Hardik Pandya has been stepping up for the team, I definitely think that he has sort of
He should
uh,
be.
gone
He
ahead
should
of
be.
KL Rahul in that pecking order for captaincy.
There's a lot of leadership trait in Hardik Pandya. I mean, I know we're
Definitely,
going a lot of off
there is
topic,
no
but
denying
is
that.
there an what are your thoughts on Hardik Pandya, a leader in the team? You know, in a lot of ways, because what he's doing is going and talking to the bowlers. You always see that even with Virat Kohli in that innings, he says that Hardik is the one who made me believe that I can go on to
Yeah.
finish the game. So there's a lot of leadership qualities which Hardik is showing, or which he's been able to possess over the last 8 to 10 months since his injury. He's been a different cricketer altogether. How do you see him going ahead for Team India, and especially in this World Cup as well?
Yeah, I think Hardik Pandya is someone who's always had that self belief, and what he's doing right now is the fact that that same self belief he is now transferring it in some form or fashion. Players around him are able to believe in the same manner because as a leader, you're expected to cast that aura of belief, of self belief in themselves, and that's what, for instance, you saw what Dhoni used to do behind the stumps, or what Virat does as a non-striker, for instance. The fact that Dhoni behind the stumps would really bring that kind of self belief in two young leg spinners or Virat Kohli when he's on the non-striker end would tell up even a bowler to go ahead and smash it. And when your captain is giving you that confidence, you really want to perform. But that's where someone like Hardik Pandya comes in, right? You know how self-assured Virat Kohli is. But to be the one person who's motivating Virat Kohli, you have to be made out of a different, you have to be made out of something very different from the rest of us. And Hardik Pandya, I think during that Gujarat, when he was in Gujarat Titans, he did really well is he took those moments as a captain which were the most difficult ones. That's something I've seen in a lot of captains. You see something like that in Dasun Shanaka. Dasun Shanaka always comes in when his team is team is in trouble. I know I'm not saying he always delivers, but because he comes in at that time, the players around him will believe in him, and that's something that Hardik Pandya does as well. I think his self belief is the one reason why players around him believe that he can do well. And right now, KL Rahul is someone. He's a great player. He's someone who's got that potential. You know what he can do when things are going for him. But right now things aren't, and that's where someone like Hardik Pandya can step in and do his job better.
Absolutely, and that's a lot of that speaks also about his mentality, the way in which he is brought up, the kind of situations he has been put through. Every setback is a learning, and that's what Hardik Pandya has taken. If you look, Hardik Pandya's entire career, it's not been all glory for him. He has had setbacks like no other player. He's had to go through tough ways. He had to face criticism. But now, we'll go away from that topic. Let's look into Group One because we've already talked about New Zealand and Sri Lanka. Let's put the points table up on the screen for people to understand a little better. This is a points table we have up on the screen at this point. If you look at that points table, you can understand that it's been a points table where every team has been there with a chance. Afghanistan got two of their games washed out. They lost one. Sri Lanka lost today, which means that has really taken a hit on their chance of qualifying. But then New Zealand, would you now say that they're well and through to the semi-final, Sandeepani?
Yeah, I definitely think so because they have the game against Australia done and dusted. So I think, and also the game against Sri Lanka. So I think now they'll just have to sort of go ahead and beat England. I think that is going to be a challenge. But the fact that Ireland came in and beat England, it is not doing England's moral anything good. And I think the washout yesterday, the game between Australia and England was very critical for the standings of this group because I think that was one of the most important matches in this group. The Australia versus England, the England versus New Zealand, and Australia versus New Zealand. These three games were going to be very important because these three were the favorites leading into this group. But right now we have the Australia versus New Zealand game that New Zealand completely dominated. Australia versus England game got washed out. So we can clearly say that New Zealand has the upper hand, and if they can beat, I think they play Afghanistan. I mean, they have played Ireland, they play Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So I think a win over there would do. No, I think the game against Afghanistan was washed out. So they'll play Ireland. So the
Yeah, they play
win
Ireland.
against
They
them.
play Ireland. They've got games against England and Ireland left. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
where
So
they
I
will
think
be looking much
it's
better.
with the performance that the team has been showing, both with bat and ball. I think they'll definitely put up a strong performance against Ireland. The game against England is going to be a close contest, but you can safely say that with 7 points and so many rain-affected games, you are closer to being through to the next round. Especially because
What are the
Australia had
chances
lost.
of this being the same semi-final lineup like the 2015 World Cup, where you had Australia and New Zealand going against Australia and India going against each other, New Zealand and South Africa going against each other?
See, with England losing against Ireland, everything in this group actually opened up. So at one point, it almost looked like Australia were not doing anything good in this group because they lost that game against New Zealand, but they came back strong. They had a washout against England, so we expect Australia to go on and win the next two games because they play Ireland and Afghanistan next. If there is no rain in the games that Australia features in, so Australia also has a high possibility of ending with 7 points. So that will
Mhm.
take them through as well. That
Yeah,
should take
but
them through
but
as well
what
because
really helps New Zealand at this point, and why we can put a Q next to their name is the net run rate. Look at that column; it's +3, and compared to
definitely.
any other team in that particular group, their net run rate is way superior, which
See,
makes
I'll
them
give you a
very
scenario.
competitive.
I'll give you a scenario where all the three teams, Australia, New Zealand, and England, will end up on 7 points after 5 games. If Australia goes on
Okay.
to win their next two games against Ireland and Afghanistan, New Zealand has to. If New Zealand loses to England, and England also goes on to win their next two games, one against New Zealand and the other against I think Sri Lanka, and New
Yeah.
Zealand, yeah, and New Zealand manages to win against Ireland. So if we have all these results, I think all the three teams will end up on 7 points after 5 games. So at that point, this net run rate of New Zealand will definitely take them through. And the and that first game between New Zealand and Australia is really going to come back and haunt Australia. But for
Yeah.
that, England has to
But you know
defeat New
what?
Zealand.
What's going to really help Australia? Australia will be the last one to play from this group. So they'll have
Yeah.
things set up for them. They'll know
Yeah, and
exactly
also they
what to be
face
doing in their
Ireland and
outfit.
Afghanistan, so they can actually go on and dictate terms
Yeah.
in those two games.
Absolutely. And if they go on to really, get two humongous wins, it really puts them in a better position. Jen, your thoughts from this group? Because at this point, this group looks very exciting because Ireland is also there with a chance. You can never write Ireland off after that win against England. We are not talking about them, we're not emphasizing on them so much. Even if they get a win, if Ireland can pull out a result, that also makes it a very competitive group now. What are your thoughts? And who are the favorites to go to the semi final from this group?
At this point in time, it has to be New Zealand because they've got 5 points a bell in their kitty, and that's something that's very important because then there are three teams, England, Ireland, and Australia, with 3 points each. So it was really important for New Zealand today that they set themselves apart from this cluster that is sort of forming here. Um, what's really great about this group right now is the fact that even Afghanistan and Sri Lanka, obviously, they are going to be facing some tough road ahead. But if they do win, they aren't far away, and that's what's really interesting because they've got 2 points, and they're like just 1 point off the other teams, except for maybe New Zealand. New Zealand is the one team which has gone really far out, and since they have that one game against Ireland, where I don't think unless rain again interferes, and this time against New Zealand. Because sort of this I think New Zealand has sort of had a friendship with rain of sorts. Whenever New Zealand needs it, rain suddenly appears out of nowhere in the sky. And but if it does happen, if the rain does curtail the New Zealand Ireland match, that's when it's going to really hurt them. Otherwise, you would expect them to finish off at least 7 points ahead, because I think even Irish bowlers, they won't trouble this New Zealand batting, and obviously the New Zealand bowling should not have any problems against the Irish batting. The way they have performed this time around, Ireland's bowling is the stronger suit. Having said that, I think where really things are going to matter is now from here on is Australia and England, the way they play their matches. Because even Ireland's going to look out at these two nations, because if these two
See, I think
countries
Ireland
really
plays
don't
against
show
New
up.
Zealand and England, so I think they'll have to
Yeah,
No,
beat.
Ireland
no,
and New Zealand is
no. I think they're going to have Australia now, right?
New Zealand and
Yeah,
Australia.
Yeah,
Australia,
it's
and
New
New
Zealand
Zealand.
and Australia. So from here, maybe you never know when it comes to Ireland, because they've been so unpredictable. This whole World Cup has been so unpredictable because of the conditions and the way the pitches have also behaved. It's been
Hmm.
very unexpected, the way
Yeah.
things have gone. Even today, for instance, who knows? It could have been an upset as well if Sri Lanka had gotten their act together. But having said that, I think from here it has to be a toss up between England and Australia, but at least on paper. But you never know with this World Cup. You
See,
never
it's
know.
Yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
simple. If rain does not play a part in the next few games, if England beats New Zealand, then New Zealand and England will make it through. They are the favorites to making it through. And if England fails to beat New Zealand, I think New Zealand and Australia look to be cruising from this group.
No, Australia, New Zealand. I also have my money on Australia and New Zealand because they're better suited, and especially for Australia, the good part is they're going to be playing easier of the two teams. I know no team
Yeah,
is easier in
definitely.
this World Cup, and as Shadab and as Haris Roff rightly mentioned in the press conference, every team who qualifies for the World Cup wants to win the World Cup. So no team is light. Even Netherlands coach today went on to say that Pakistan are beatable. So there's no harm in saying, because every team now looks at each other and like we can get results. There's no team
Yeah,
you can take lightly on this World
I
Cup.
mean, I
I
just wanted
mean,
to ask, did Harry Stoff have any other alternative after that sort of a performance to go on a press conference and say something else? But yeah,
to be
I
very
think
honest,
another big game tomorrow is going to be Zimbabwe versus Bangladesh. I
yes,
think,
I think we should talk about that game. Because let's now talk about the preview of the tomorrow's games. I think it's time we had half an hour discussion on this particular topic because tomorrow is a big day for Group Two. It's a massive day for Pakistan, for India especially, and for Pakistan especially because Pakistan will be having the eye on all three games. Bangladesh versus Zimbabwe, they'll be rooting for Bangladesh. Pakistan will be rooting for their team in the afternoon game, and Pakistan will be rooting for India for a game against South Africa, because tomorrow is all Pakistan. Pakistan will be, for the first time, I think Bharat will be unified like how it was before 1947, 15th of August. It's gonna be
but
all
I think
together.
Pakistan qualifying from that group is a huge shot in the dark right now. because they'll need everything to go their way. It's not
Yeah, a
just
lot of
one or
things
two
are in their
permutations and
favor.
combinations.
Absolutely. See, for Pakistan, the road ahead is pretty tough. It's not going
I
to
mean,
be
I mean,
easy.
Zimbabwe has a way easier path of qualification as compared to Pakistan right now.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Because I also feel that they have themselves to blame at the end of the day, isn't it? But,
Definitely.
ultimately, this was a tournament where they had it in their hands, especially the game against Zimbabwe. It was served on the platter. We already analyzed that game for Pakistan, and they just messed it up. And
we
now,
we
what is in
actually
their
called
hand?
the shots even before the T20 World Cup. It was very evident that subcontinent nations were going to suffer, were going to like find it very difficult under these conditions, probably barring India, because we can see that Sri Lanka are struggling. They started off in a horrible manner. They somehow maintained themselves in that group stage, and when come the Super 12s again, they started to crumble against Australia and New Zealand. And when it comes to Pakistan, they have had, I think, this has been their worst performance in an ICC tournament since probably what 1987 World Cup. I can't think of any other performances from Pakistan in ICC tournament that has
And
been
2007 was pretty bad. 2007, they got
yeah,
knocked out.
2007, yeah,
hmm,
2007, 1987 both. I mean,
I mean, it was both the 50 over
1987
World
they
Cup.
were not a
But
yeah, yeah,
in T20 World Cup, Pakistan has never made it out of the group a lot of times. Let's look at
definitely, yeah.
2007,
They
they
were
made it
one
to
of
the
the
final.
favorites, right?
2009, they were champions, but 2010, they never made it out of the group. They never made it to the
No, no, no.
knockouts.
They played the semifinals. Hussey took that game.
Oh, yeah, that
Of
was semi-finals or that was a group
Yeah, yeah,
stage?
yeah. That was semifinals, I guess.
Okay, so three times there. 2012, they did not qualify. 2014, they did not.
Yeah,
2016,
I
they
mean
did not.
2012, 14, 16, they did not have a proper team, because we could see from the Pakistan team it kept on changing. You had all this Jamshed. There was Jamshed. There was Ahmed Sazad who was playing, and people were just changing at
Come
the
on, he
top
was
of the order.
Virat Kohli, bro. He was
Yeah,
supposed
yeah,
to
yeah.
be the
At
next
one
Virat
point, they were
Kohli.
comparing him to Virat Kohli. I mean, everyone like Jaren occasionally mentions that everyone who does reasonably well for Pakistan over a short period of time is being compared to Virat Kohli. But I
Yeah.
think the correct
and before the
comparison should
standard
be to
was
KL Rahul. Yeah,
before the standard
like again
for
Jaren mentioned.
yeah,
Yeah.
before the standard for, I mean, and all due respect to Pakistani players, and I feel, I really feel we've had some great Pakistani batters come out, but what really goes wrong with them is the fact that, when they do well for a reasonable amount of time, before they used to get compared with Sachin Tendulkar, and, when that became incomparable, then they started comparing that to Virat Kohli, and that's just high
Yeah.
standard for a batter who starts out early. And I have to say, I mean, over the
I mean,
period of
to
time,
be very fair on Babar Azam is now 28. What Virat Kohli did at 28, I don't think Babar Azam has even achieved there, right? What Virat Kohli was at 28 was a different beast. I think that's where his peak hit. I think Virat 2016 was when he was 28, if I'm not wrong. 27, 28 was 2016, if I'm not wrong. 2016, right? 2016 was when Virat Kohli was 28, and that year, he won
Yeah.
matches for India single-handedly. You know what Virat Kohli can do. I don't think Babar Azam has hit that, and maybe he might hit it in the future. But let me be very honest. Maybe these three lump years of Virat Kohli is what really helps a lot of players to catch up with him. But despite that, you know what Virat Kohli set himself, the standards which he has set himself, even during those phases where he did not have 100, it's way too big. So for Babar Azam, it's a catch up and it's a lot of pressure on him if you're going to compare him with Virat Kohli and other
And I think
players.
it's unfair as well because each player has a different career. You cannot be comparing players like that and just without I think a lot of like rivalry as well. I mean, it's not like Babar Azam really lit the stage. I mean, he's a great player. He's one of the best out there, but he's still a long way out. And I'm not just saying about Babar Azam. Babar Azam is someone who still I think had is able to manage against that pressure put on him by the media and the fans. But there are so many players who were, subjected to that pressure and who really, whose career really went down the drain because of the amount of pressure and the expectation that was mounted on them, where without much proof as well.
Yeah, true.
Definitely.
But let's talk about Zimbabwe, that Jared, especially because
No,
Zimbabwean
I
team
mean,
after
just to answer Rashid's question, I think to talk about qualifications for Pakistan, uh, as simply as I can put it, South Africa will have to lose against India and Pakistan. Pakistan will have to go on and win all their games, and Zimbabwe have to lose against India and either of Bangladesh or Netherlands. So Zimbabwe has to lose two games. South Africa will have to lose two games, and Pakistan will have to go on and win all their games. So
Yeah,
that is
it's tough.
how
A lot of
Pakistan is.
results have to go your way. If those many stars have to align, and then I think World Cup is destined for you. I don't think it usually
Definitely. I
happens,
mean,
but then it's tough. 92 is one of the things which a lot of people talk about. There's a lot of comparison as to can this be Imran Khan's 92 kind of run. This was also asked to Harris Roth today in the press conference, and he told वो टीम ही अलग थे, वो कैप्टन अलग था, जिस तरीके से वो फॉर्मेट भी अलग
I
है.
mean, the
So they
loss against
were
Zimbabwe will have actually really sort of halted their confidence. I think the confidence that they had after the game against India, because there was nothing. There were no severe flaws in that team during the game against India. I think they made some minor errors at crucial points, and that is why they lost the game, because India is a very quality sort of side, and they were definitely the superior side on paper as well. But when it came to Zimbabwe, they restricted Zimbabwe to 130, and definitely just to not be able to chase 131 on a pitch that was, yeah, that was really definitely assisting the fast bowlers, but it was gettable. 131 on that pitch was gettable, and they just can't somehow bring themselves to believe that they lost the game from there. And I mean, 43 needed of 39, 38 deliveries with 7 wickets in hand. Losing by 1 run is going to hurt, and I don't think Pakistan can come back from that. If they somehow manage to do that, I mean, it is going to be a historical feat, and if they manage to qualify to the semifinals, they deserve to win this World Cup. But I don't
absolutely.
see that happening.
So I was just drinking water. It is called it's a fruit flavored water from ocean. So not sponsored, but yeah, I just love the water. So I'm drinking that. Not nothing else. Nothing which is alcoholic in nature. But yeah, Priyanka says the most likable team. She loves New Zealand. Yeah, of course they're the nice guys, but definitely not for India. They Indians do treat them as nice guys. That's why they just get on top of you all the time. Indians have the soft corner for
I
New
want
Zealand.
some major sledging if India goes on to face New Zealand in the semifinals, which
Or
is
in the
quite
final.
unlikely right now. I think
Either.
both are going to top their groups,
I think
so the likely encounter is going to be in the finals if
Also, I
both the
think
teams
absolutely maybe.
that is something that is interesting. The fact that sledging has sort of gone out of the game. You don't see that anymore because of these franchise
with
leagues, and the
yeah,
fan
and
that
also
I mean,
with
the fact that
hefty fines.
if you say something to him, he might turn out to be a I mean, as Josh
Yeah.
Butler found out, if you say something to a player like Ash, you might have to share the dressing room with him
Yeah.
next year.
Like, how are you going to sledge Trent Bolt? Like, what are you going to say to him? Like, literally, what is Ashwin going to say to Trent Bolt? They play for the
I
same
think
guys.
Trent Bolt, and
Rohit
that's what New
Sharma has
Zealand does.
played with him.
They kill you with kindness. If you say something to Trent Bolt, he's just gonna smile, and then you're disarmed. You have no idea what to say
And
to
then
him,
probably you'll have
and
one
then
of
he
the
gets you
best in
out.
swingers in recent times and get dismissed and go to the pavilion. That's what will happen if you go on and sledge
I think KL
someone
Rahul
like
should
Trent
start
Bolt.
sledging. That's the only way he'll be involved in the
No,
game at least.
don't sledge. If I am KL Rahul, I'm not going and sledging Trent Bolt, especially after that ripper that he got,
I,
like Trent got bowled to him in this IPL.
I mean, KL Rahul at this point of time should just look at the ball and hit the ball at the same time, be more active. I feel he's sometimes looking very dead out there. I don't know what's happening to him. He's looking
and
like he's
and
totally
and so
uninvolved.
many of his dismissals have been played on, and I think he's one of the like, if we somehow get some stats, I'll try to get it up. If we get a stats of people getting out sort of played on, like hitting the ball with the bat, and then the ball is going up and ending on the stumps, I think KL Rahul is going to be pretty high on that list of being dismissed, played on. And that is something,
Mm.
one might say luck, mental block. It can be anything. We saw a phase, an extended phase from Kohli where he was getting out in all sorts of manner. It's still pretty early to sort of put KL Rahul in that position, but I think he has
Yeah.
not been scoring against the top nations, and he will look to, if he gets a chance to play tomorrow. I think he this game is going to be the most important for somebody like KL Rahul.
Absolutely. Yeah. For KL Rahul, it's a lot of things which has to go in his way. But now let's talk about Zimbabwe, right? Zimbabwe has been one team who are in the chance to qualify as well. Tomorrow they have a hurdle against Bangladesh. It's going to be played in Gaba. So, Jen, your thoughts on this team because they have a better chance of defeating Bangladesh tomorrow. They already did defeat Bangladesh when they toured Zimbabwe a couple of months ago. So they are a team who has got an upper hand against Bangladesh. At the same time, conditions are also going to favor Zimbabwean pacers against Bangladesh, who has been demoralized throughout the course of the World Cup. They are coming off a heavy defeat against South Africa, and also even they almost lost to Netherlands as well. So the best opportunity to defeat a team like Bangladesh and put themselves in a very good position to defeat Netherlands next up.
Yeah, I think tomorrow's game, at the way things have been and on paper, based on form, they're going to expect Bangladesh to be beaten again. Uh, it's gonna. I mean, if Bangladesh really gets beaten tomorrow, then it's really going to hurt them and their fans, because Bangladeshi fans are some of the most passionate fans out there. They love seeing their teams perform. Sometimes they do get carried on. We know how carried on they can get when the team do well, but it really hurts to see when your fans are that passionate and you're not able to put up any sort of performance for them. The way they were battered in the last game, they did not have any answers. Even though you felt, I think there was kind of game where you comprehensively beaten and your morale is broken. There's nothing for you to really look forward to in that match. In a match you want to forget. Against Zimbabwe, though, you would say that that kind of performance shouldn't be the case. You would expect Bangladesh to do well. Traditionally, Bangladesh have done well against Zimbabwe, but this is going to be a different, a whole different kettle of fish, because looking at the way Zimbabwe, they've really put their team together. I was going through a few articles, and some of these players, they are players who left Zimbabwe because of the fact that they were not being paid enough. The Cole Park deal is something that really came to picture. Muzarabani, for instance, is a player who was playing in county championship for quite some time, and these players were brought back. Even Brad Evans, the hero of the previous match, were brought back into this team. They were said that we're going to build a team, and also Zimbabwean Cricket Board have gotten rid of the debts that they had thanks to the partnership with the government. So now they're really a team which is putting a lot of steps forward in becoming living up to that tag of full member nations. Bangladesh, on the other hand, have had I think had a very bad phase in their cricketing history. They've not really won anything in these past few months. Their T20 teams have struggled. Shakib Al Hasan has been a disappointment, to say the least. His batting has been very disappointing. He really needs to come good, because they have not had a lot of senior pros this time around as well. That's something I think they're lacking. If I'm not wrong, Tamim Iqbal
I
is
think,
also
to
not
simply
there.
put it, I think this Bangladesh team is going through a transition, and
Yeah,
Shakib Al
yeah.
Hasan is the only player that has played like for a long time now. I think he is one of the three players who has played in every T20 World Cup so far, starting from 2007. So I think with some of the senior pros like Mohammedullah, Tamim Iqbal, Mushfiqur Rahim not being in the side, some calling it quits, some being injured. Liton Das and Shakib Al Hasan becomes very important to that side, and the performances of Liton Das and Shakib Al Hasan is going to directly be proportional to what Bangladesh does as a team, because I think the bowling department is doing a good enough job for them. Probably not so much in the last game, but I think the main disappointment for them has been their batting. It's a team going through transition. You can expect this sort of performance from them. And talking about Zimbabwe, I think they have some really good quality fast bowlers right now. Brad Evans, Blessing Muzarabani, we are all talking about them, but Ngarawa has been a revelation for Zimbabwe in this tournament. I think he has improved drastically after that series against India. Like when we see his performance in that series against India, he was bowling those economical spells in the ODI series recently concluded, but I think he has improved significantly from there. And also, I think the pitches in Australia are really assisting the fast bowlers. Also, there is the experienced pro Chatara
Yeah,
who
that's
sat
correct. Tomorrow,
out in the last
venues
game.
also come into play. They're going to be playing at one of the
Yeah,
fastest wickets in Australia yet again. They're going to be playing in Gabba,
definitely.
and it's not an easy wicket for any team
And
to
and
travel
see,
to.
now with even Zimbabwe, we have options. Like even a team like Zimbabwe has options of playing the fast bowlers. We saw in the last game their senior pro Chatara sit out, probably because of an injury. We don't know. But Luke Jongwei came in and he just bowled that one over.
No, it
But
was Brad
Luke
Evans
Jongwei,
who
what he
came
does,
in last match. Brad Evans was the replacement for Chitara.
yeah. But also Luke Jongwei, I think he did not play in the game. He was not listed in the game against South Africa for if I'm right. So I
Yeah,
think, and yeah, and also I think what Luke Jongwei or Brad Evans for that matter does is it provides that extra bit of ammunition right at the end with the bat. We saw what Brad Evans could do with the bat in that series against India again in that game where Sikandar Raza scored that century, that outstanding century. He had I think over somewhere close to 100 or over 100 run partnership for the eighth wicket with Brad Evans, and Evans also went on to pick up 5 wickets in that game. So Zimbabwe has a lot of pace bowling options. To add to that, they have Ryan Bird, they have Sikandar Raza, they have Sean Williams coming in and rolling his wrist. So they have a lot of bowling options. The batting has been the concern for Zimbabwe for quite some time now. Sikandar Raza, with some of the senior pros, Craig Irvine, Sikandar Raza, and definitely Sean Williams, and also new revelations like Madhavire. They are
Maybe
coming in, they are scoring in the runs, and that is what Zimbabwe would be hoping for tomorrow. To bat first, get that runs on the board somewhere close to 150, over 160, in excess of 160 would be great. But I think if they can put a score in excess of 150 with the fast bowlers that they have, I think they are
I think
definitely in
anything
the
above
game.
150 is going to really make Zimbabwe in that game even more competent.
Yeah.
And they are going to be coming hard at Bangladesh because
And
they
also, just to
faced
add
it.
to that, I think the fielding has been outstanding. I think the game that they won against Pakistan, you have to remember in that last over itself, Craig Irvine, 37 years old, the
Yeah,
captain of the Zimbabwean side, went, chased the ball right till deep, like from mid off, he went on till long off, and he saved that one crucial run that ended
Yeah.
up in the team winning the game. And I think the fielding has been great from the side, the slip catching, the outfielding, and the ground fielding especially, because we saw that not just Zimbabwe. I think all these small nations, or we can call them minor nations, or probably the non-test playing nations, barring Zimbabwe, probably Netherlands and Scotland. I've been very impressed with their fielding because they have saved even in the game against India versus Netherlands. Netherlands went on and I think saved over 10 to 15 runs on the field with their outstanding outfielding. They were
Mm.
not allowing Indians to score boundaries easily, because with these longer dimensions in Australia, people usually run hard, and that just allows the fielder to sort of get across the ball, and the outfields are sometimes not the fastest because of all these wet conditions and not suitable sort of suitable Australian conditions that we expect in the summers. So I think the fielding has been great. The standard of fielding has been great from the smaller nations. I cannot say the same for probably India or Pakistan. I think they have been a bit sluggish on the field, and I think there is scope of improvement over there.
True. I mean that's a good one because especially the fielding has won Zimbabwe the game. If you look at the last game, that one run which was saved came to give them the victory ultimately. If you look at it, and also have to give credit to the way in which they've operated. I love the way how Ngarawa balled in the last game, especially that over which he balled to Mohammad Wasim. He was hitting the deck hard, and I have an interesting stat there. Pakistan's strike rate of balls, which are flying over the stumps is just 84 in the World Cup, and striker of balls which are balled at the stumps is 158. That's a different. It speaks a lot of. It speaks a story in itself as to how they're struggling
yeah,
against short pitch bowling and how they're struggling against balls which are really coming at a height which is slightly uncomfortable in these conditions. So, which means they are going to be susceptible, and Zimbabwe made use of it. They did not ball full to them at all. They targeted the likes of Rizwan, likes of Mohammad Nawaz, even to Mohammad Nawaz, the ball in which he got out, the way in which they set him up, the ball which he got before he got out, they ball a brilliant ball to him where he missed, and next ball again there was a mid off which was brought up, and he tried to go on top of mid off with that length. It was very tough. He couldn't clear it. So it was a great captaincy, great execution of the plan. And that's why I give credit to Zimbabwe again. I think their fast bowling has really gone up. Blessing Muzarbani, I think he was part of the Gujarat Titans net ballers as well. And he's also part of Multan Sultans in the PSL. So a lot of things,
He
these
has
guys
actually
are.
played quite a few games in the PSL for Multan Sultans, and I think he did a brilliant job over there as well. And he has, in fact, dismissed Babar Azam even in PSL, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly. Also, Karachi Kings had
absolutely.
a horrible run. So yeah,
True, absolutely. To be honest, Karachi Kings had a horrifying run there, and I think there's some reports coming out that every time Multan plays Karachi Kings, Rizwan plays Blessing Muzrabani against Karachi Kings, saying that you will pick up Babar's wickets. That's quite a funny story which has come out in the press nowadays, and I think it makes a lot of sense as well. Jen, your thoughts for Zimbabwe, because they will be having the belief right tomorrow that they can go on to topple Bangladesh, then they'll be in a better position to qualify. And also with that self belief, if South Africa's two results don't go their way, all of a sudden Zimbabwe in the semi final.
yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, for those of you who want that breakdown, what's going to really happen is if Zimbabwe have the easier of the two, probably you would say, in the sense that obviously they are facing India, but Bangladesh if they win tomorrow and Netherlands if they win, and what is to say that India can beat Zimbabwe. If even if they come close in terms of net run rate, you never know. But South Africa, although you would say has the upper hand, also because of the fact that they still have matches in hand where and a very good run rate. What they did really well, the fact that South Africa went after Bangladesh, they did not give them an inch, is the reason why they're still favorites to go ahead
No,
in terms
clearly
of.
to put it, I don't see South Africa not qualifying based on net run rate. So for Zimbabwe to qualify, Zimbabwe will have to win at least two games. That is, they'll have to beat Netherlands and
Yeah, and
Bangladesh because
you'll
these are
have
the
to hope
easier
that
opponents.
India beats South Africa, which is a very good
They'll have to
possibility.
hope both India and Pakistan beat South Africa because South Africa will have to lose two games. So they'll have to
Yeah,
be,
yeah, and that's the
yeah, because
point
net
there,
run rate
right?
is
The
not
fact
going
that
to.
you would not expect Pakistan to win against South Africa the way South Africa is playing, and also the fact that Pakistan have really struggled. If you saw how Bangladesh were blown away by South Africa, blown away by South Africa by their pace, you would be really scared. And also, they're playing in Sydney Cricket Ground, and the way Sydney Cricket Ground, was behaving today, the way the pitch was behaving today in the power play, Pakistan is going to be worried. But having said that, I think South Africa one. I mean, the one difference tomorrow between Bangladesh and Zimbabwe is going to be Sikandar Raza. Sikandar Raza has had an average of 29 and a strike rate of 150. Compared to that, the highest run getter for Bangladesh has been Liton Das. He scored only 43 runs in the whole tournament so far. And Sikandar Raza scored 145. So that itself shows the fact that the batting is the one place where Bangladesh is really worried. I think on the other hand, bowling, you still say that Mustafizur Rahman and Hassan Mahmood have really come good for Bangladesh. So the two players who really would Bangladesh would hope would take the mantle on and really blow Zimbabwe away
Also,
is these two
Taskin Al Ahmed,
bowlers.
I think he did a good job as well. I think to start off Bangladesh's campaign against Netherlands, I think picking up 4 wickets in that game against Netherlands was
Yeah,
very
yeah, but
critical for them winning the
Tuscan has
game.
been a bit expensive. I think that's the one
Yeah,
issue
yeah,
with
that
Tuscan.
has been the case with
Uh,
Taskin throughout his
yeah,
career.
correct, correct. But I
And
think
to be
having said
honest,
that, but
with
he's the one
Taskin
who's
as
got the
well,
most wickets for them.
tomorrow
He's got.
I'm expecting he'll do better in conditions like Gabba. If he doesn't get carried away by bounce, he can really threaten Zimbabwean batters. They've had issues with bounce yet again, and
Also, I
Zimbabwe
think
also has a lot of
Bangladesh
issues.
has been doing a great job, not great job, but a good enough job with the ball. I think they'll have to really step up their game with the bat, especially against this Zimbabwean bowling attack to
I
win
think
tomorrow.
what's really hurt Bangladesh is the fact that they've done really well in the power play. Power play overs they seem to do pretty well, and in the death, Mustafizur Rahman is doing well. But aside from that, if you look at the middle overs, is where they've really struggled. Shakib Al Hasan has not bowled well. Mossadegh Hossain has not bowled well.
It's also to
Mehdi
do a
Hasan
lot with
Miraz has not
conditions.
bowled well.
It's Australian
The,
condition, and tomorrow in Gabba, I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
expect him to get better.
that's the whole point. That's the whole reason why Bangladesh struggle, the Australian conditions. And Sandiman is right to mention. We also spoke about it. We brought out stats as well, saying that in terms of Asian teams, only India is the one team which has sort of broken that Australian jinx when it comes to Asian teams. Because Australia is not an easy place to bat, and mind you, because Asia, you see the ball isn't as fast onto the bat as it's in Australia. The bounce is a lot more. And as Abel mentioned, in case of Pakistan, the issue with Australia is the fact that you pitch anywhere, most often than not, the ball is going to end up above the stumps. Because
Hmm.
we've seen this happen a lot more. A lot of LBW calls, for instance, get turned down because of the ball missing the stumps. So Australian conditions, most often than not, that is the length is going to be above the stumps. So that's where I think
Yeah.
the Asian teams have struggled.
SS98 is an interesting question. He asked, should India drop DK and play Pant and drop Akshar and play Huda? I think it's way too early. I think DK has done nothing wrong. And he missed a couple of stumping chances in the last game. But then
Yeah.
you need a finisher like DK, and Pant has not really justified his place, especially coming in middle order in
But
T20 cricket. And
I
I
am
know,
excited to see Pant as an opener because I think he has got
yeah,
that.
I
We
mean, I
spoke
prefer
about him.
Pant as an opener, but nowhere in the
Yeah,
middle order at number
me and
6,
Abel,
number
I think
5.
we spoke about Pant as an opener, right? Because I think he could be an aggressive option early on because
Hmm.
Rohit Sharma loves to bat with batters who go after the bowling straight away, so that he can
Yeah,
get that space to settle down.
yeah,
And Rohit Sharma having to take that mantle himself has really not helped his average. His strike rate has
yeah,
really gone up, but his average has not gone up because of the fact that he goes after the bowling because he is the one who has to go put the foot to the pedal as they say.
yeah,
But
yeah.
if Pant comes up also because he's got a very good matchup against Rabada and Nokia he loves batting against Nokia. If that's the case, maybe Pant could be a very good option at least in tomorrow's game.
See,
Yeah, but
also
instead
the
of
thing
KL
is
Rahul, but not instead of
the fact that
DK.
yeah, the fact that the ball has been doing a bit early on in the innings for any team that has been playing India, that has not been helping Rohit Sharma's cause with the strike rate as well, because we see him trying to play that aggressive sort of a knock where he wants to hit every ball out of the boundary, but that has never really worked for him or for any cricketer. You can't really expect to smash every ball out of the park. And I think after a certain point of time, after 4 5 overs, if India does not have the ideal move on, or if Rohit Sharma does not have a strike rate in excess of 100 or 120 after the end of 4 overs, I think Rohit Sharma goes berserk and he just tries to nail every ball out of the stadium. And I think
Hmm.
that is not going to help them, because
I
that
mean, even Rohit
does not
Sharma
help
did
them anyway.
admit that he's not striking the ball well in the press conference. So, which means that he does admit that he's not in the best of shape when it comes to batting. I think that's why maybe a player who's going aggressive on top will give him a little bit more time to settle down. But dropping Akshar is not a way ahead, because Akshar ball is very good against Netherlands and he's done
Yeah.
decent, except for the 1 over against Iftikhar. He's not done anything bad. And I think, especially like in a stadium like Perth, where the ballers who are quicker through the air gets a lot out of the wicket than ballers who
Correct.
flight
Correct.
the ball up. Only
Definitely.
exception was Shadab, but Shadab is also a quicker leg spinner compared to someone like a
No,
Hasaranga,
I mean,
Chehel, or any.
Shadab in that match was not flighting the ball at all. He was bowling back of the length,
Yes,
good length delivery, and
yeah,
flat through the air and
yes,
wide of off stump. So that
yeah,
was his plan. That's where he went well. Mohammad Awaz, who tried to flight the ball a little bit, went for runs quite a lot more. And even Harsaranga and Tikshana, when you saw them in Perth against Australia, you saw Tikshana doing a lot better because he was bowling the ball a lot more quicker, flatter through the air, while
yeah,
Harsaranga was trying to flight the ball. So
yep.
yeah, I think Abel's got it spot on. Akshar Patel tomorrow should not be dropped. And I feel, if you're dropping Akshar Patel, then you'll have
See,
to
I
get
don't think this
so
Indian team will drop Akshar Patel, not just tomorrow. I don't see them dropping Akshar Patel
Yeah,
throughout
I
the
don't
World
think
Cup.
so, because he brings a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
balance into the team as
But
well.
if you
You
ask
know,
me, honestly, not for tomorrow's game. Definitely, Akshar Patel should start in the playing 11, especially because India are going to play against South Africa in the conditions that will sort of assist Akshar with the ball tomorrow. But I would ideally love to see this combination with Deepak Huda and Hardik Pandya doing the job of the fifth bowling option sometime in the future, probably in the game against Bangladesh or Zimbabwe. But that is not going to happen because India is not going to experiment. Because there's a lot of pressure in the Indian team as well. They would like to sail through without any hiccups. So whatever is working, they'll continue to do the same. And Dinesh Karthik also, I
Absolutely.
don't see him getting dropped anytime soon. I think the
Absolutely. I
only
don't
way
think,
Pant
I
gets
think
to
there's a
play
lot of
is if
continuity
KL
with this
Rahul does
team.
not play.
Yeah, there's a lot of continuity which this team has given on players. They entrust the role clarity and give them that role clarity so that they can go on to perform well. Also, they've done well as well. So thank you, Shaurya, for that, because we kind of take our job seriously. Because when we talk about a team, we want to cover that team in depth. It's just not like जिम्बाब्वे खेल रहा है बांग्लादेश से अच्छा गेम है शाकिब अल हसन है और दूसरे टीम में पता नहीं है कौन खेल रहा है हम ऐसे काम तो नहीं करने वाला है हमको पता है जो खेल रहे जिम्बाब्वे के प्लेयर्स का नाम तो पता है हम लोगों को it's something which we take our pride in. It's something which we really focus on because we don't want to be saying that Zimbabwe players ka naam pata nahi hai. It just it makes you look very awful, and at least we know that they are test playing nations at least because I know a lot of experts out there doesn't even know some of the teams are test playing or not, and there are some big experts out there. So we don't want to be sounding like them, and we want to be very professional with whatever we do. Other guys only cover big teams, and we don't want to cover big teams. We do cover big teams, but we want to treat every team equally because it's a World Cup. There is no big team or small team. As Harris rightly mentioned, if tomorrow Zimbabwe goes semi-final, what are you people going to say? All your predictions goes out of the window, and that's what cricket is all about. And
And
that's
I
what we
think
want to keep doing.
Zimbabwe can really pull off a Kenya in the 2003 World Cup. Whatever Kenya did, I think Zimbabwe can simply pull it off. And I think
Absolutely.
they have the odds with them. I mean, I would definitely back Zimbabwe to beat Netherlands and Bangladesh. And definitely India will be the favorites on paper against South Africa because in the recent past, even though South Africa has a great team, but probably if they don't have the ideal start that they want, they find it a bit difficult to get going. So I definitely think on paper India are the favorites. So the game against Pakistan, the South Africa's game against Pakistan becomes so important, and Pakistan is going to play, I think, Netherlands and Bangladesh. So Pakistan will also be looking. I think they are going to win against Netherlands and Bangladesh. So Pakistan will
Hmm.
also be looking to defeat South Africa for their chances to qualify. So this group is also going to be very interesting. We can see that the other group has already heated up. this group is in the process of getting heated up. I think after the results tomorrow, I think we'll have a lot more clarity on who are the two teams that are favorites heading from this group.
Yeah, thank you, Shorty. Again, see, the whole point, what we like to also do is that we want to back our every word with stats and data if possible, so that there's a certain bit of validity in what we speak. We need to substantiate it. We want to give our own opinion, but at the same time, a logical opinion, which makes a lot of sense. We don't want to be sitting there and saying that Sikandar Azhar should open the bowling against Bangladesh. That just is a ridiculous opinion. But if you have some data to back it up by saying that Sikandar Azhar has done well against Bangladesh by picking up power play wicket, then it makes a lot of sense. And Bangladesh struggle against pace ballers who are bowling in excess of 140 is a thing which we want to back it up with data. We don't want to say we ball fast to Bangladesh, they will struggle. But on based on what? You want to back it up with data. You want to back it up with the kind of struggle they've had. That's what we want to substantiate with. That's what we want to move ahead with and talk about every pitch. We don't want to say Perth is a quick wicket. Why is Perth a quick wicket and who are the better players suited for those conditions? So that's what you will enable us also to talk well, which also will help you in fantasy side of things as well. So that's the whole point why we're having this discussion. Let's talk about India, South Africa, as we
And,
already
and
covered.
just to add on that, well, I think our picks for the underrated or the emerging picks for the tournament have been doing great with the bat. The batsman pick, I mean, the two centurions in the last 2 days,
Yeah.
Glenn Phillips and Riley Russo were in our top five emerging players or players
Happened
to
like
watch out
this.
for.
Yes, Riley Russo scored, then Glenn Phillips scored. Tomorrow I'm expecting Surya Kumar Yadav to score, then Harry Brook to score. That's what I want the trend to be. I hope everyone in the top five scores
Definitely.
100. It'll be lovely to see that. And I hope Surya Kumar Yadav scores it tomorrow. So it is a big day. I know he's already scored one, but if he scores one tomorrow, then expect India to really ease it. He's in very good form. He's looking in very good form. You already know that there's a partnership. Surveer is what they've called themselves. They're looking in a great touch together,
And
and they're
it's just
backing each
good
other
to
up.
see them enjoying each other's company while batting. I mean, Surya Kumar Yadav and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Virat
it's
Kohli
part of
really complement each
yeah.
other really well on that field. And it's so good to watch as an Indian fan, as a sports fan. I mean, it's very endearing. Something that
Yeah,
you would be very proud of, Abel, because you have had this culture in RCB of AB de Villiers
mhm.
and Virat Kohli batting, and I think that's something that can
Yeah, it did
come
remind
close
you.
to
If you
resembling
remember,
that is Surya Kumar and Virat Kohli
if you
on the
remember
field.
right after the Australia knock, when they chased that score of 180 odd runs in the final T20, that's when I told there's a partnership which is brewing, which I think will do a lot of benefits for Team India. But since then, they've not looked back. They've had some great partnerships batting together. Let's talk about the Hong Kong game. That's where it all sparked for them. I think even before, I think Surya Kumar Yadav's debut game where he hit that Jofra Archer 60 on that game onwards, they've had a good understanding between each other. What do you think, Jaren? Because this has really helped Virat Kohli also to come on its own. It's really given Virat Kohli the space to play the anchor role because this lad is batting at 200 strike rate. He can play all the shots around the book, and Virat Kohli can hold one end up at the same time hit the shots as well. So this partnership has really, brushed off each other pretty well.
Yeah, and what is really done. I mean, I think some credit has to be due to Suryakumar Yadav because whenever Kohli before what he was struggling with the fact that he was trying to up the ante against his better nature. I would say not the Kohli-esque kind of way of upping the ante, playing rash shots, trying to force the ball out of the sky. Virat Kohli is someone who loves the deft touch. Who loves to get the ball out of the middle of the bat. And what Suryakumar Yadav does is he shifts that burden of really going after the ballers from out of Virat Kohli's shoulders to himself, and he goes after the bowling. And Virat Kohli can just go on and do his own job. That's as you guys mentioned so correctly. That's what AB de Villiers used to do, right? The whole focus of the team was on AB de Villiers, and Virat Kohli would quietly get those runs out. I mean, not quietly to say the least, but out of at least the fact that now the teams have to look at two batsmen who are really going at it. So who do you target? You probably more go after the batsman who is getting too many runs. I mean, who's really damaging you. And Virat Kohli plays at longer innings, and you see the fact that Virat Kohli's innings have gone longer and longer as Surya Kumar Yadav has started to establish himself in the team, and I think it's not a coincidence.
Yeah, Manla Re Bau. I mean, absolutely. They're
Yeah.
both like building this really good bromance out there. What do you think about that, Sandipani? Because for team,
And
it's really
I think
beneficial.
not just Virat Kohli and Surya Kumar Yadav. I think they are the only two Indians to feature in the top 10 T20I players of like ICC T20I players, batsmen. They are the
I don't
only
believe
two
in those
Indian batsmen in the
rankings,
top 10.
man. Those
No, no.
rankings
I
are
mean,
most
yeah,
flawed when they
rankings
literally
are not
handpick.
really. the rankings are not really the right way of judging a player, definitely, because we also have Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan in
They're
top
not
five.
bad, but yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, it actually does not cover quite a few aspects like the impact that a player has on the game. I think if ICC can somehow implement it with their statisticians, and they can prepare a model probably, that would definitely better, like, help to better this ranking system. But
I
just
think
to
at
think of
least
it,
at this
India
point
has
in
two players
time,
in top 10.
at least at this
That is
point in
Virat
time,
Kohli
they
and Surya
must
Kumar Yadav, right?
ICC must divulge on how they calculate the ranking. That is one thing they should at
ICC
least
should
make it
hire
public.
me.
And
And
I think the fact that they
At
haven't
least in
given a
T20
basis.
cricket, they should have a better way of calculating the ranking system.
they just should hire me for this modeling, right? I'll do something else.
ICC, if you're listening, just watch out. There's a guy who's already put up a CV. Anybody from ICC, Rob Key, if you're there, take him for Sky Sports at least.
No, man, no, no, no. Rocky wants to hire me for UAE. He wants to hire us for England. Sky Sports.
I
He
think
has been
Rocky will
giving
tell
us
you give
giving us
it
a lot.
Sky Sports. That could be the stepping ladder.
Yeah, Michael says this road wheel
Definitely,
is better
yeah.
than the one on
Obviously.
Hotstar. Yeah, maybe. Absolutely, that was also about doing something for the nation. So I think I'll take the real one than the real one. So yeah, but anyway, that's a series, and this is something which I'm really liking. But let's talk about India or South Africa. Tomorrow is not an easy pitch, right? Perth, we've already seen the average first inning score is just 142 batting first, and it's not an it's not an easy pitch to chase as well. Teams who have chosen as only won 30% of the games in Perth, so which means teams who are winning the toss have a better chance of batting first, posting any score in excess of 150. Then you're better suited to win the game. You will take that up. क्या है
Yeah,
भाई
Jaden,
कुछ
just
हो नहीं
take that up because
रहा.
I've been taking a lot of questions. I mean, it's been quite a
Although
few
it's
days. I missed the Boomer 11 3000 subscriber party. I was actually unfortunately traveling, and I
That's
was having
because
many
he
FOMO.
went
Yeah.
to purchase new goods for dance. Sanjiman is dancing when the moment we hit
No, no,
3,500.
we are waiting for another
I think we are very
997,000 to
close,
see
guys.
FLs.
Remember,
Yeah.
10,000 subscribers. Abel is going to reveal a lot of things about his life.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. Only 7,000 to
there's
go.
going to be
Yeah.
one
Q&A with
special episode. It's
Abel.
going to be a Q&A.
Mm.
It's definitely going to be a
You can
Q&A on
ask your
10,000.
questions on the comment section. I'll take it up on the Q&A. It's going to be a
Definitely.
pre-recorded live.
But yeah,
So
I think
yeah.
going back to your question, Abel, I've really noticed. I think especially under the lights, Australia has been a tough place to bat, and that's where tomorrow we are going to seeing the match played under the lights. Chasing the scores is going to be very difficult because I feel teams haven't really gotten used to the fact that you have to. It's very difficult as well. The modern T20 I asks you to capitalize on power play, but power play has become that one period in the match where ballers have been really active. The wickets have fallen on regular intervals, and openers you've seen throughout. I think except for maybe Devon Conway, you've not seen a lot of openers come up and perform or play long innings. And I think there's a reason why that's happening because the ball has been doing quite a bit on many pitches, and Perth has been one place with an extra bounce, especially with a new ball. You've seen that the carry. If you've seen how Mark Wood or even I mean, if you're Pakistani fans, you would have seen how Muzrabani or Engrava really got the ball to talk on those pitches. And tomorrow, the fact that it's going to be South Africa who are going to be playing, you're going to see a lot more of it because Rabada and Nokia are going to be licking their lips seeing the pitch tomorrow. Those are the kind of pitches they love coming against, and South Africa historically love playing in Australia. And India is going to be, if I am in the Indian camp, being an Indian batsman, I would be really worried because I think India is going to be up against they're going to be probably facing their most toughest challenge tomorrow against the South African Pacers. But
But
having said that,
I had
I
a
think
question
Surya Kumar
regarding who
Yadav will
should
really
South
enjoy
Africa
that
go for,
pitch.
whether Wayne Parnell or Nigiri. I had a question for both you and I mean, will anybody can take it
I
up.
think Wayne Parner will play. If Wayne Parner doesn't play, which means Jansen is away, they'll play the left arm seam
Yeah, I
against
think
India for
Jansen
sure.
or Wayne Parnell because of their left-handed
It's a
option.
choice
Because
between
But
them.
India,
But
Nigiri has been the bowler from South Africa with the
I think
golden arm, if
NGD
you
has
notice,
been
right?
a very good bowler for them. But if you look at the lineup, right, I think I think they'll play one spinner, and that's going to be Keshav Maharaj for sure. If you look at the lineup, I think Wayne Parner will play. I think Keshav Maharaj will bat at number 8. Then they'll have choice between Nokia, Rabada, and one more player. I think that'll be Ngidi. But now
But for
If
me, I
you
think it
go to
is Janssen or Parnell because he's got a left-handed option in both.
yeah,
And
But
Janssen being a
I
tall,
have
Parnell is
fast
playing.
bowler.
I think both Parnell and Nigiri
I
can fit
have
in.
I
But
have
Jansen
this kind
has
of
to
a
be
feeling they might go with Marco Jansen ahead of Wayne Parnell
Yeah,
because
yeah, and because
if
he's
you
a
look at
tall,
the
fast
Asian
bowler.
Cup,
Tall,
he's a
fast
tall
bowler,
fast
left arm
bowler.
angle. He can bat a bit. He'll give you that kind of cover at the lower order. And what he can really do, we've seen tall, fast bowlers do extremely well on Perth.
Hmm.
I think Muzrabani, that height that he brought in, really put some pressure on Pakistani players because you can get that bounce in Perth, and if you start bowling back of the lane, good lane delivery, you're gonna really hit the deck and trouble Indian batsmen. Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli don't like facing fast bowlers. Virat Kohli's had a taste of Marco Jansen in the IPL and also in the nets. That's where the Jansen brothers really troubled Virat Kohli in the nets, and Marco Jansen would have had some sweet memories against Kohli. So
Absolutely.
the form in which Kohli is in, you
Now,
would
if you
want to
remember,
win
he got Kohli out in
Marco
the
Jansen.
first ball in the game against RCB.
Yeah,
If I
yeah,
remember
and that
very
what a
well,
beauty was that. I mean,
that was a
he's
very good ball.
he's got some X factor in
And
him.
he's gotten
He
him
can
out
be
a
the
couple of
player.
times in test matches also in that series. So he's got a
Yes,
better number
yes.
against Virat Kohli in the recent past. SS98 says after the T20 World Cup, Shaw and Tilak Verma should open for India. Both the players are in form of their life. Shaw, yes, I'm a big fan of Shaw, but Tilak Verma opening the batting, I'm still not convinced about Tilak Verma. Um,
with the
I think
current
he'll get chance for
Indian
India, but
sort of mentality, I think Tilak Verma is a better fit for the ODI side, not in the T20I side
not
right
in the
now.
T20 side. I'll still go with Shaw. Shaw with anybody, I'm fine. Shaw will be good with
Rohit
Rishabh
Sharma,
Pant.
start with Rohit Sharma. I think this will be
If
a
you're looking at the
great duo.
future of T20 format, Shaw with Rishabh Pant would be the ideal T20 opening combination, and maybe Samson at three or however you want to go, and that'll be very good option. But Shaw, I really want him. I really want to see him in the T20 format as soon as possible. He's a. I thought you should have been there in the series, at least in Asia Cup, at least as a backup opener. You've tried him in this. You've not tried him in Zimbabwe tour. You've not tried him in South African tour. I don't know what's the reason why selectors are ignoring
But
him.
the thing is,
He's been
right now, I think the Indian selectors, as we have seen in the past, even we saw this for Dhawan as well. Before
yeah.
Dhawan getting dropped from the test side and losing favor with the selectors, I think there was a long phase where a lot of critics and a lot of people wanted Dhawan out of that side. But the selectors kept on giving him opportunities in the test side, and it kept on failing. And after a certain point of time, they lost hope, and then they started like Dhawan fell off in favor with the selectors when it came to the test side. And I think something like KL Rahul is on the verge of something
He's a
happening to
vice
KL
captain
Rahul
of your
in the
team, and I
T20 format.
mean, they've shown a lot of faith in this guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
because they have already shown a lot of faith in KL Rahul. They have supported him throughout his injuries. I had a huge concern regarding not just KL Rahul, quite a few Indian players who were just uh, playing the IPL, getting injured, not playing for the international side. When it came to the international side, they were getting injured, and straight again coming for the IPL, playing all their games. So I was not really happy with what was happening with that. Not just KL Rahul. There are quite a few players otherwise as well, but KL Rahul in particular, the selectors, a lot of people have been very patient with KL Rahul right now, and it's just got to do with the ability that KL Rahul has of changing the game, the stats that he has batting, opening the innings for India, for Punjab Kings, for Lucknow Super Giants. He has these amazing stats batting as an opener in T20 T20s in general. So I think they have backed him, and these stats and everything only take you up to a certain point. After a certain point, it's just based on form and how you're doing, what impact you're making for the team. And I think KL Rahul is not, I'll not say hanging by a thread, but he is close to hanging by a thread, probably tightrope walking right now.
absolutely. Yeah, correct. Saloni says, I'm waiting for that episode from Abel. She'll say, yeah, Abel has got a very vibrant attitude. One
सब्सक्राइब
real life.
कीजिए एबल को
I think we're all
रियल लाइफ
waiting
में जानिए.
very with bated breath so that we can have the Q&A and Abel can answer the question. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll reveal how I'm off the camera as well. So that's how it is. And I think it's going to be a Q&A for everyone. It's just not me. In
No, no,
Sandeep is going to
definitely.
reveal himself.
I think
Jen is
even though
going to reveal.
even if you
But
name
but
it, it's Abel who has the most interesting personality, who's got the most
definitely.
questions, who probably should get the most questions. I think me and
No,
Sandeep will definitely join in the fun, and
no.
he will be
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one asking
Guys, it
questions.
should always
Related
be
to
these
stats
two.
and cricket, I'll be there for answering,
I
because
think
I think my
maybe when
life
we
right
hit
now revolves around
20k
stats
or
and cricket.
30k, Maybe when we hit 20K, Sandipani will answer. When we hit 30, I will answer. But 10K,
No,
it
no,
has
no,
to be.
no. It will be the other way around. 30K me, 10K you. So
No, no,
just
no. Even because the reason being you already promised, everyone is waiting.
Yeah.
10K
Well,
you've
I
already
think
promised.
everybody is anticipating yours, and then we can
Yeah,
go with
you
seniority.
cannot
I think
escape. Maybe me and Sandipani
Jared
can
will
still
probably
decide
put
on
20K.
what mark for us to have the Q&A. But you have already sealed your fate.
absolutely. Having said that, I think we'll end the live right here on this note. It was great discussing a lot of
No,
things
just
tonight.
just I just wanted to know predictions for tomorrow's game because we have three games tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a triple header. And ICC scheduling has been on point, on days where you don't need to have when you need to have two games, they keep three. So it's just been kind of that kind of a day. And
Yeah,
especially the group two, which
why,
is the
for
second triple
instance,
header.
today was there only one game? It baffles me.
I think
I mean, was there
Zimbabwe
was
are
there
gonna go
some
through
issue with
tomorrow.
I don't
I
know.
think
Was there some issue with the management or with something with the ICC? I don't understand this calendar because what's the hurry of having T20 World Cup having 2 3 games when the qualifiers we were having 1 or 2 games, 2 games in general. What is the point
yeah.
of having games in Super 12s where all the games
And
are
I
of
also I blame
yeah.
ICC for keeping two games in the same venue. Yeah, because if one gets rained out, other will get
Yeah,
affected eventually. And
Definitely,
of
and
course,
not
and I
just that.
totally
I
agree.
think
Yeah.
even if both the games are played out, I think the pitches are really like after the first game, the pitches slow down a bit. There are certain difficulties for the batsmen as well. I mean, they take some time to adjust. If I'm in the team that is going to play the second game and I'm seeing the batsman going out there and just tonking the ball, and then I'll have to play next. I don't expect the pitch to sort of suddenly slow down and be difficult to
Yeah,
bat on.
makes
So
sense. Makes
I
sense.
mean, I just don't understand this sort of scheduling from ICC. They had a lot of time. It's the T20 World Cup. They could have probably extended it, not have too many games on one day because certain games like India versus Pakistan, it deserves a place where you should have only one game on that day. Probably
yeah,
England
Yeah,
versus
that's
Australia, you should
but
that's
have
also
only
funny.
one
another
game
thing
on
is
that.
that India versus Pakistan will garner all the attention, and then the other team who's playing really doesn't get any coverage
Yeah,
at
I mean
all.
Sri Lanka versus Ireland, the game, okay, the quality was not great as well. But even if we had a game of great quality, it would have gone unnoticed because everybody was
Yeah,
waiting for the India game. So this is just something that ICC should definitely look into because this is probably affecting their revenue system as well.
Yeah,
correct.
absolutely. And I hope it changes. But tomorrow we have a triple header, so I think let's have some predictions. Who do you guys think will make it from the Bangladesh Zimbabwe game?
For
No,
me, I think it's
I
going to be.
mean you guys start. I'll go at the last.
I think it's going to be
Whoa,
Zimbabwe.
that is just not fair. So like you're gonna weigh
Zimbabwe.
in all the options and then see who's
No,
devil's
no, okay.
advocate will play.
Like for Bangladesh versus Zimbabwe, I think Zimbabwe has the edge. I would hope I would back the Zimbabwean team, especially after the performance that they put up against Pakistan. I would back them to go on and beat this the young, the sort of in transition Bangladesh team. When it comes to Pakistan versus Netherlands, it's going to be a close contest, but I'll still back Pakistan to go and definitely shatter Netherlands because they'll be wounded, and I expect Babar Azam to get some runs finally because a lot of backlash and everything has been going on right from the Asia Cup. So
Hmm.
Pakistan over there and India versus South Africa. I think it is going to be another very exciting, very close contest. But I think the team batting first will have the edge. Preferably India will have the edge chasing. But if South Africa is chasing in excess of something 160 or 170, I don't see them going able to go on and win it. So if India is chasing, I think I would back them more to sort of get the job done. But other than that, I think the team batting first will definitely have the edge.
Absolutely. And your thoughts, Jaren? Do you have the same similar thoughts for tomorrow's game as well?
For me, I think I'm going to say that me Pakistan versus Netherlands. I think it's going to be a very close contest again. Probably might go to the last over, but I expect Pakistan to come good. India versus South Africa. I think I'll disagree with Sandeep Mani. I'm probably going to break a lot of hearts here, but I really think South Africa have the pace bowling attack to really surprise India and go through. So that's where I think if
Definitely,
Bumrah
they're
was
one of the
playing,
most
if Bumrah
fearsome.
was the one player, I think would India would really miss on Perth tomorrow.
Yeah,
If Bumrah was playing, he would have really utilized that pace and bounce. Shami is one bowler who might do well for India, but aside from that, I really think South Africa might have the edge over India. This is me saying with a very heavy heart because the fan in me wants India to win, but the analyst in me feel South Africa has the edge over India.
Okay, that's a good one. And you will be hoping that South Africa's top order collapses like how they had in Trivandrum or other
Yeah,
games as
I
well.
really hope that's the way. The pitch really takes South Africa by surprise.
And India shouldn't get Temba Bavuma out. That's a trick. So that's the
And
way how
also the
India
way
thought.
Quinton de Kock is starting the innings, I think he is in some hurry to finish the game in 10 overs or something, because they
Yeah,
were
that's a
Yeah,
playing
good
only
intent.
Bangladesh.
but
That's
that
a very good.
Zimbabwe match, for instance, I felt if there were two more overs, I mean, Temba Bavuma was I think 5 runs of five or two of two, and then you had Quinton de Kock,
Quinton de Kock,
18
seriously,
balls,
yeah.
47 runs.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, Abel, what about you? You can't escape this.
I think Zimbabwe will win against Bangladesh because of the pace bowling and it in Gabba. If it was in Sydney, I would have still given Bangladesh an equal chance. But now with the win they're coming off Pakistan, high on confidence, Sikandar Raza as a bowler who they'll have to tackle again. But Muzurbani and Ngarawa, these two up front is going to be tough for Bangladeshi openers. So Zimbabwe there and Pakistan and Netherlands. I think it should be easy. It should be first win for Pakistan Australian soil. Ideally, that's what we expect in Zimbabwe game as well. But you never know with this Pakistan team what's really going to turn up because with Netherlands, what's going to happen? It's in Perth. They're going to have Bastilleed. They're going to have Van Beek and all these lads running in. If they get
Van
something on the
Neeson,
wicket, and if
uh,
Pakistan are going to be 2 or 3 down in the power play, yet again
yeah.
the tremors of the last couple of games are going to haunt them. So that's what Pakistan would like to avoid. But I think it's going to be tough to predict this game. I know I
But
should be never saying
but
this,
come
but
what may, I think if I'm in the Netherlands camp, I would be dying to go out there and bat first, because
yeah.
the only chance Netherlands, I'll give Netherlands is if the bat first, because
And I
if
really hope
Pakistan goes on to bat
Pakistan
first tomorrow,
doesn't
I
play
think they are going to
Shaheen
take
as
the game
well.
away.
Because Shaheen, they're just torturing that guy at this point, just for the sake of him playing the World Cup. You saw in the last game the way he was running the last single while he was batting, he was limping, and you're just torturing that guy. He's not looking
There
rhythm
is
at
no
all,
need
and
to play in Shaheen Shah Afridi, because you already have you have Mohammad Wasim, you have Nasim Shah, you have Harris Roth. You can just probably add in another pacer over there. There is Mohammad Hasnain in the ranks. There is probably Shahnawaz Dahani is waiting in the reserves. I think that they
Mm,
have enough talent pool to sort of overcome Shaheen Shah Afridi and probably give him some rest, because I think this is going to really affect his career, like what we saw for Bumrah. I definitely don't want to see something like that happening to Shaheen Shah Afridi.
Yeah, and he's
absolutely.
not a he's balled. It's been a pretty average outing for him, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
expect him to do
he's
a
not a hundred
lot
percent
better.
fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not, and that's the reason why. Yeah, that's the reason why you're seeing that happen. But tomorrow I feel Shaheen Shafridi might have a better day out against
Mm.
this team here, which has pretty much struggled against quality bowling, and the fact that pace and bounces that offer, you might see Shaheen Shafridi do well. But again, as Abel mentioned, back-to-back games in the World Cup, the kind of pressure he's under, he himself has come out and said he's not, in a very good rhythm, and that is a
He's not
that's
looking
a
fit.
huge.
He's not hundred
Yeah,
percent
and
fit.
there's a
That's the
reason for that, as you guys
bottom line.
mentioned.
They've
He's
just
not looking
rushed
fit.
him for the sake of World Cup. I don't know what is a catastrophe which awaits him after this kind of risk they have taken. It could affect him in the longer term as well. So I hope Pakistan team is smart enough to understand that and give him rest and bring someone like a Hasnain who's waiting on the wings. He's done nothing wrong. And I think these kind of conditions will suit someone like a Hasnain who's going to charge in and
Yeah,
ball 140 clicks plus as well. And I think that's going to be one game. When it comes to India South Africa, I think it's going to be a close game, but I'll still give India the chance. Because they're going to form Surya and Virat are in, and also Rohit getting runs under the belt is so important. If KL Rahul also clicks, which makes India a very complete unit, and I'm having my money on Mohammad Shami because Mohammad Shami has performed in Perth, the same ground, especially in the Test match against Australia as well. So I think it's going to be the bowler for South Africa to tackle, and he's got a good record in South Africa. So I'm going to have my money on India, maybe 51-49, but yeah, slight edge for India. All right, guys, then good night. Don't forget to download the app right now and also play the predicted contest, which is right there available on our app. So there's the opportunity to download the app. The link is in the bio. Download it, play all the fantasy contests of the World Cup with us. You can win a lot of prizes for absolute free. Of course, there's zero financial risk as well. There's your opportunity. Do not miss out on that. Thank you. Have a nice day, all of you.
Yeah. Bye guys. Good
okay.
night.